All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome this live stream. I have a lot of interesting things to cover. So first off, this is an open Q&A, so feel free to ask any questions as we go. Generally though, I want to discuss the fundamentals course, talk about why I created it, why you might be interested in it, whether or not it's for you. My camera is blurry. There we go. Much better. So going back in time, we created a fundamentals course, and this was very valuable for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people had a lot of desire for this. And I launched it, created it. Everybody enjoyed it. From what I can tell, people are gaining a lot of value from the content. But I wanted to do more. I wanted to cover intermediate topics and advanced topics, but still from an approach that showed core principles, fundamental principles. So topics that you might not get as a beginner, but you still definitely should know in a lot of depth for intermediate and advanced roles. So basically what I did is I announced 2 additional tiers to this course: the intermediate and advanced tiers. So these are different courses. The original fundamentals is now the beginner tier, which has like 10 to 15 hours of material. These intermediate videos are a little bit different, and basically with these, we're going to go into a lot more depth on different topics. So what I want to do in this video is basically go through some of the material I plan on covering in these courses and share that the event for your opportunity to get these courses ends tonight. So I've been promoting it for some time, for the last week, and as part of that, I introduced the Code Breakthrough Vault as well. So we're going to talk about what the Code Breakthrough Vault is. Do you use Claude Code CLI? Yeah, I have been experimenting with Claude Code. I find it pretty interesting. So we've been working with that in our AI course, but I don't use it day to day. I generally only use the AI tools if I'm trying to build some tool really quickly or something like that. So I also want to talk about some of my strategy and plan with these courses in the big picture relative to my YouTube channel as well, as I've been increasing the priority of my YouTube channel in my life and in my business and career. So you may have noticed I dropped a absolutely sick 1-hour video today on API design and architecture. And if you haven't seen this, I would highly recommend it. But basically, we're going to be releasing more material of that nature. But there's a different purpose between the YouTube content and the course content. So I want to get into that as well. Is there any opening in your mentorship program? Currently, the enrollment for the mentorship program is paused. I brought all or many of the recordings from the mentorship program and put them in the Code Breakthrough Vault. The Code Breakthrough Vault is a bonus material that you get with the early access purchase of the fundamentals course. So on YouTube, I have that pinned. I have that in the description. If you're interested in checking out the fundamentals course, the sale for that, basically you get 30% off and you get access to the Code Breakthrough Vault after the early access sale. The course will be closed, won't be reopened until the material is done at full price, and you will not gain access to the Code Breakthrough Vault, which currently has over 60 live 1-hour mentorship calls recorded. So real world question and answers. These were led by me, as well as a ex-Meta tech lead and a CTO of another company. So 3 different people leading, as well as interaction from other engineers in the calls as well. So this is basically the current mentorship program option. If you've considered something like mentorship, the idea of the Code Breakthrough Vault is to condense all that material, give it to you in course form, and extract the most important nuggets from what I've learned mentoring people for the last year. So definitely would recommend you check out the Code Breakthrough Vault. So that is something that you get with the purchase of the fundamentals course. You don't buy it separately. It comes with the only tier available of the fundamentals. So you'll get the beginner, the intermediate, the advanced, and the Code Breakthrough Vault. The beginner material is done, as that was the course I released last month. The Vault material has already 60 hours of material in there, with potentially more being added and refined. Like, that's going to be an ongoing thing. The intermediate and advanced material is not complete, but that is something that's immediate priority after the close of this sale. So I'll be going dark, working on content for the next couple of weeks. So when you join, you'll get immediate access to most of the content, and then 2 of the courses will be released over the next few weeks. Please share all the material for free. So yeah, it brings up the question of like, what's the purpose of the YouTube videos versus the course? So the YouTube material is going to be probably prioritizing a lot of crash courses as well as concept videos. So things like API design and architecture, system design, data structures and algorithm approaches. Whereas the courses are really designed for hands-on experience, going in more depth, learning the skills of real-world software engineering, hopefully going deeper. This is because YouTube prioritizes surface level content that gets more views, that gets more exposure. So I provide surface level content that goes deeper than most people's. So, a 1-hour crash course versus like a 10 or 15-minute intro. And that does really, really well. But for people who want to go even deeper, learn all the different stuff, especially stuff that, really might not do well for a dedicated YouTube video, that's where the courses come in. So for example, in the fundamentals, I did a lesson on the OSI model and like the networking layer of things. That's something that, I'm not going to create a dedicated YouTube video on, at least not right now. So I have a lot of topics that are very important, but don't deserve a full YouTube video, as I don't really do like extensive, like one to, many. I used to do like 100-part series. I don't really do that anymore. Most of my videos are much longer. Hi, Mom. Shout out to Mom. So I have a list of different things I want to talk about in this. So I already mentioned the target of the course. Basically, it's an extension of the beginner course, and you get the access to the vault. The sale ends for that tonight. In the vault, I want to talk about what's some of the goals of the vault and what kind of topics you might expect to see. So I have some example lessons that you might run into, some different mentorship topics we've discussed. So the path to success in software engineering. Hi, Dad. Mom and Dad both coming in for the live. Shout out to them. Path to success in software engineering interview process, planning and building projects, resume review and AI screenings, spending a day with the GitHub founder or one of the co-founders, work experience and company culture, offer negotiation, mentorship, event-driven architecture, SQL and technical interview prep, AI agents and AI for software engineers, new grad resume review, and that's just like some of them, man. That's maybe I said 10. Yeah, there's like 60 lessons. Some other ones, some more technical stuff. We have rate limiting, throttling, and debouncing. Bunch of system design stuff, consistent hashing, horizontal scaling, load balancing, hashing, key value stores, the CAP theorem, key value stores and consistent hashing, generating unique IDs in distributed systems, URL shorteners, job searching strategies, and then a bunch of material on AWS and cloud computing. Is the Vault a good course for a student? Yeah, absolutely. I think like a lot of people will think, hey, I'm a student, I don't really need to worry too much about like this career stuff yet, but I think it's like that's actually the opposite of what students should be thinking, right? So when you're a student, you need to be thinking, I need to be spending extra time prepping for my career. So all of this stuff that's focused on how to succeed in your career and mindset and set the right approach and direction for your career, that stuff's like super, super valuable. So yeah, you'll have the opportunity to learn from me, and then ex Meta staff engineer or tech lead, and a CTO. So you'll get a lot of real world insights. Intro to AWS, part 1 and 2, AWS Relational Database Service, setting up EC2 instances, Nginx, Kubernetes, and Docker, S3, database security. So we also have a lot of technical stuff in this as well. But the approach is not like, hey, here's a tutorial. It's all live calls that I've recorded, and more real world, question and answers from engineers. Started following you when your videos were about music theory. Can't believe how far you've gotten while I haven't even learned music theory yet. That's really awesome. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I actually created a bunch of music theory stuff a while ago. It's one of my hobbies, music, so that's pretty cool. How many hours? Yeah, so the mentorship material, there's like 60 lessons or 61-hour calls, so about 60 hours of material, as well as an ebook and some videos that I produced on mindset, which I think is huge. So I know I say this a lot, so I'm not trying to repeat myself, but I do truly believe that mindset is the thing that can make you different than everybody else. This is your approach. This is the way you look at the world. This is how you succeed. So things like limiting beliefs, these set caps on your potential in life. And the older I get, the more wise I become, the more I realize every time I've struggled to reach any goals of mine or to do something, in almost every scenario, it's because of some limitation that's rooted in a limiting belief of myself. Like, I am setting these caps for myself. And I every time I talk about this, I feel like some pushback, and even comments. People are like, oh yeah, this is just a bunch of like nonsense. But I truly do believe that if you do not set your mind right for success, you're not going to thrive. You're only going to reach the success level that you believe you're mentally capable of. And when you believe you're mentally capable of achieving something, you set up your work in such a way that naturally progresses you towards that goal. I don't want to be, too woo-woo, but it's basically manifesting, right? You set up your outcomes here first before you execute to get those results. And that's going to be successful. That's going to help you be successful. And I think I mentioned this before, but there was one person in particular that I worked with where they had high levels of doubt, right? They joined my program to work with me, and then they basically started and wanted to back out. They didn't even ask for a refund or anything. They're like, what you're doing is great. This isn't going to work out for me. And I argued back and forth with them like, hey, no, this is going to work out because that's the way this mentorship thing works, right? Like the accountability, which I do have some interesting stuff on accountability I want to talk about as well, if I remember. The accountability is critical, where you want this, otherwise you wouldn't have, gone through this process. And you're setting a mental cap on yourself. Like, what's preventing you from being successful? If you take the time to actually write down why you can't achieve something, there's going to be basically one of two possible things that come from this. The first one, you're going to get some valid reasons. Wow, guys, that was my bad. I don't really have a proper video set up for this. Hopefully that wasn't too disruptive. There's going to be some valid reasons. Like, I can't become a software engineer at a tech company because I don't know data structures and algorithms. And this gives you direct things that you target and you fix. The second major thing is you're going to find just basically BS excuses. And when you write this down, it feels more silly, right? It's like, oh, I'm actually taking effort out of my time, out of my day. I'm taking time and effort out of my day to write down reasons why I can't be successful. If you go through that exercise, you're going to feel a little stupid because, like, the idea of this exercise is wild. But by going through that exercise, you'll start to realize that, hey, maybe I can actually do it. Like, why can't I do what I want to do? If the reason you can't do it is something like practical, then fix it. And if it's something that's impractical and just a mental barrier, then you need to break through that. So that's a bunch of stuff I talk about in the Code Breakthrough Vault with mentorship, with mindset and your approach to life and career and business and whatever else it might be. I also talk a lot about like practical working, so how to work asynchronously, how to collaborate with teams, how to work consistently, be more effective and productive, how to break down bigger problems into smaller problems, and so forth. So that's a little bit on the Code Breakthrough Vault. When you join, you'll immediately get a 40-minute video, which is actually part 2 of a 2-part thing, so it's really like 60 minutes. And this will be 10 different mindset things you can fix right off the bat. And that video alone, if you apply what that video says, I think it's going to completely change the trajectory of your life and career. And I say that genuinely. It does take time to shift your mindset. So you can basically start to capture these thoughts you have and realize like, oh yeah, I am producing less than I could because of my own mental barriers. All right, so enough on mindset and the Code Breakthrough Vault, but I just wanted to just mention one last time that is an early access bonus only. So if you join the course today, it's closing after this live stream, you'll gain access to those mentorship calls and the mindset material, and I'll probably be adding stuff to that as well. All right, so question, what's a good place to go to learn how to code real coding without the fluff? Fluff, what do we mean by fluff? So when you say fluff, I think of like Udemy, because Udemy, their search engine and their whole system is based off of like bad metrics. Like the more hours of material, the better. The more lessons, the better. The more projects, the better. And this is an approach that so many beginners have, where it's like, if I just do more stuff, I'm going to get better results, or I'm going to be farther. And I do believe generally doing more gets you farther. But if you just do more, but you don't actually produce anything better, then you're just kind of repeating the same basic stuff. And I've found like so many of these Udemy courses and some other platforms and stuff, like they fill the courses with so much fluff and just stuff that's not important. Or maybe like they'll update the course and add a bunch of new stuff, but they'll keep the old stuff in. And now you have this like 60-hour, funny I say 60-hour because that's how long my Code Breakthrough Vault has, but like you'll have like a 60-hour course on something like Git or GitHub. And you don't need that much time to cover that topic thoroughly. So that's kind of my approach. So my material is definitely shorter and it's denser, but I do teach it well, I believe, and everything I teach has like a companion ebook. So I would avoid Udemy unless like it's purely a budget thing. If it's a budget thing, honestly, I believe there's plenty of fabulous resources on YouTube. I release long courses. You can start with my system design playlist or whatever. You can also check out Free Code Camp or whatever it might be. I also don't believe like more projects is better, because like when you do these things and it's like build 100 projects in 100 days. I don't think that's bad, right? Anything to get coding. Where's the link? Link's in the description. But basically, you build all of these like really crappy projects, and each one teaches you some like super niche thing that's, you don't really know how to like combine it together into like an actual real world project. Yeah, one project is all you need. Yeah, I think that's adequate. Usually, I like to get, a couple, maybe 3. It depends on, what you're trying to achieve. So for like the fundamentals course, I ended up deciding like I'm going to do 2 projects per tier instead of like, 10 beginner projects where we build a calculator, a to-do app, and like all these really crappy things. So the full first course, like the only thing you're going to build, I guess technically there's a third project, but yeah, you'll build it's like a smaller third project. You'll build, and that's mainly because like all my stuff is hands-on applied. So you end up building a lot of stuff, but you build a notes-taking app. So just like a kind of like a web app where you can take notes, type them out, save and edit them, just basic CRUD capabilities. But we build that over a longer period of time so we can thoroughly learn all the material. And then the intermediate, I haven't, probably it's going to be a URL shortener. So that's going to get you into some system design topics with generating IDs and all these things. So we'll talk about like different design approaches. And then I haven't decided on the second project there. For the advanced, I haven't decided exactly there yet either, but it's definitely going to get into building something either with Rust or Go. We'll basically the three languages we're covering are Python, Rust, and Go. We're starting off with Python to teach the programming principles, but then I'm going to show some different options. So for the advanced tier, it's going to use one of those three for building projects because I want to cover multi-threading, parallel computing, and I want to cover WebSockets for real-time applications. So those are basically like core principles. That's why they're in the fundamentals course, but they're like an advanced tier because I don't think if you're like a brand new beginner, you need to be learning parallel programming and WebSockets right off the bat. But I do believe it's like a core skill that will help if you end up having to do more complex applications. So if you build one real-time app and it's like thorough and really good, that's more than enough. What if I'm building a big, massive project? I find I'm using all my time for that instead of LeetCode. Well, that really comes down to like your strategy to career. And I don't really know what your goal is here, right? Like, is your goal just employment? Is your goal to get real world skill to build your own startup? That would shift how you would prioritize your time, basically. So I think I would definitely get some DSA in there if you're looking for roles, but having one really good project that you can show people is usually pretty sick. Like I had an interview once. It's kind of humiliating actually because this is like right when I was getting started. I was just building an app. Got it up in the App Store or whatever. Still in like the dev version, but and during an interview I was like, yeah, I'm building an app. I'll pull it up right now. And that made it so concrete. I was able to just show them something, point to something like I built this. But the problem is I couldn't get it to load, so it was actually a negative. So obviously learn from that, and that whatever you do build, you want to do it well. So if your portfolio has 20 crappy apps on it, you're probably not going to sell yourself. Just reading any questions. So there's a question about like the larger scale roadmap. So we're working on building some other courses for like complete beginner to end from zero, starting with fundamentals up to building intermediate and advanced skills, data structures and algorithms. And at the end of the year, looking to release like a full software engineering course of sorts. But I do not have the full vision for this written out quite yet. So the question is if they should wait for that. I would definitely get in on this course because first off, the fundamentals is going to lay the foundation for every other thing. So basically you can increase the effectiveness of your learning and your abilities for the rest of the courses. And when I'm doing course content and I have some fundamental topic, I can just be like, yeah, talk about this in more detail in the fundamentals course. And I don't have to waste so much time. I will also make sure anybody who does support, like with early access sales and all these things, gets rewarded. So that's always been a priority for me. So I don't exactly know what the end of the year launch will look like, but I know people who are in the vault will get a bonus. That's another big thing with the vault is like it's basically a way to save on future purchases and opportunities. So you guys are like my VIP members essentially. hopefully that answers your question. You also said, I don't think I will use this course right away. It's not a live thing, so you have access to it. You can watch the material whenever you want, as the material comes out. But if you don't join now, I'm closing the course, so you can't buy it until the material's done, because I don't want people joining after this event, basically, so I can just focus on producing the material. The course will be on YouTube. The course will not be on YouTube. The course is on my website, codebreakthrough.com. Again, I have the link here in the description. There will be videos here on YouTube as well. I'm actually working on some backend development series. So if you can't afford the course or it's not for you right now, then yeah, still happily have you as part of the viewership. I just I have bigger plans and goals with the course platform. I find it interesting that the majority of interviews in software engineering positions don't require DSA, mostly building mini apps or solving bugs. Yeah, this can be true. I think you should learn DSA for better programming skills. It's going to improve the way you think and the way you solve problems. Excuse me. So I would highly recommend. As for jobs, it can definitely help. But usually the bigger the company, the more important it becomes. If you're looking at like startups or really small companies, they probably care a little bit more about domain knowledge and being able to jump in and build stuff right away. So it really comes down to what your goals are. Should you learn DSA alongside, not just after? I think the best way to learn DSA is over time, data structures and algorithms. So for example, doing like a LeetCode problem per day or something of that nature. I think if you're brand new, like you're just starting, then you can just go through some of the fundamental material before you jump into DSA, because you're just going to hit so many roadblocks where it's like very inefficient learning. So I would really recommend learning some of the basics of just programming and learning how to have fun doing that so you actually want to code. Personally, I think most people, unless you're like super algorithmic, you're going to jump into algorithms and you're going to be like, this sucks. I'm not interested in this. And you're going to burn your interest in coding entirely. So I think that's a very real risk. So I think you should at least have some basic skill, and then you can actually start building stuff and realizing like, hey, coding's pretty cool. Coding's pretty fun. Then you start to realize like how you can use some of these DSA topics. Like, why do you even need to sort data? Why do you need to find data in a collection? None of that matters if you're a brand new person. So learn some of the basics first. That's why I structured my roadmap the way I did. So starting with the fundamentals, then we're getting into DSA. So that way you're not being caught up on the fundamentals when you're trying to learn DSA. That was a big thing I wanted to mention. I have it written down here. Who this course is for. This course is really for everybody, because, I mean, even I have some senior level engineers going through this material, because you can always go deeper with the material. So there's two things I learned. The first one, talking to an L7 Google engineer. So L7, for those of you who don't know, is like really high up there. And he does interviewing for people to get into Google, and does a lot of DSA stuff on his own. Talked to him and was like, hey, what are like the biggest things we should know? What are the top priorities? Where do people get stuck the most? And he emphasized that people miss out on the basics. They focus on the wrong things. You need to have the basics rock solid. The difference between a beginner engineer and an intermediate engineer is just about the depth that you go. And even a senior engineer, it's about the depth. This was confirmed with me when I was talking with another engineer who was a tech lead at Meta, and it was basically he helped somebody else land, I think it was like a E6 or L6 or whatever they call it at Meta, which is like a pretty high up there role, like staff engineer, I believe. And basically I was like, well, what's the game plan? How do you get to that point? What do you study? What do you prepare? And he told me pretty much a list of things that was exactly what beginners that I was teaching were learning. The only difference was the level of depth that they were going to. So what that means is the roadmap for a beginner and the roadmap for a senior engineer are the same. The only thing that changes is the amount of depth on that material. So what that means is if you stick with the roadmap, you stick with the plan, you're setting yourself up for very high levels of skill and engineering. Sorry, I'm getting emails popping up and it's distracting me. We'll have to deal with those after this, so they're just gonna have to wait. So the point of what I was saying is that you need to be careful to not let new insights and new discoveries distract you and give you this feeling of like, oh, now I know better. I need to like actually learn something else, or I need to do these other things. When in reality, you just need to lock in and focus on the fundamentals, learn the data structures and algorithms, learn system design, and just learn the handshake to get into companies. Like, it's that simple. What languages do you teach in the advanced fundamentals course? So we're going to explore Rust and Go. Really, the benefit of this being an advanced tier is I'm not going to teach all the basics of programming from the beginning, which that's why it's tiered, right? I can just be like, yo, you learned this already with Python. Now we just need to learn how it's different and like new stuff. So the effectiveness is like way higher. Is Spring Boot hot now? I don't really want to get too much into like opinions of like which frameworks and stuff to learn. My general opinion here for this, thanks Ryan for the dono. My man, you helped me get through my database classes with your old lectures. Thank you. You bet. Yeah, I really appreciate that, man. Hopefully that's all turned out well for you and you're thriving. So yeah, what else? What was I saying? Which like framework to learn and all that. You want to learn the core ideas, right? So here's evidence of this. You can build an API in like every single programming language. Every single programming language has multiple frameworks you can choose from, but the interface of working with an API is almost always the same. So it's like I've been able to create lessons here on YouTube covering Flask, Django, Phoenix, probably some other ones for building APIs. I'm like drawing a blank, but I know I've done more. And upcoming here in the next couple days, we'll have a fast API course on YouTube. It'll be like about an hour long, completely free. But the idea is you learn the core principles of building out APIs, the different HTTP methods, the different response codes, the different ways of structuring the data, the way to organize your code with middleware or different design patterns like MVC and all of these different things. You can transfer that between any of these languages. So don't get caught up on one of them. You should be able to pick up any of them if you learn the way things work. Let's see what we got here. I want to build a product such as a CLI or a web app, but I have been learning data structures and algorithms for more than 2 months and I'm still not finished. Additionally, I want to land a job. What is the best course of action for me in this situation? So yeah, that's a really great question. So basically your problem is you really want to land a job and you want to know which of these things is going to get you the most progress the fastest. And this really depends on where you are in your career. So if you're early career and you have 0 projects, then that's pretty big priority. If you are later career and you've worked professionally, you can just point back to previous prior professional experience. Projects become less important. So that's the way you decide. If you are unable to right now build something, you need to go do that. You need to learn how to do that. If you are able to because you've done it professionally, you just haven't done it personally, honestly, who cares really? You can show your work still. So that's like my general approach. And then with DSA, I don't think you're ever really done. You just keep getting better. So what you can do is you can time box the DSA or problem box it. Like I'm going to do one leak code problem a day. I think I mentioned that earlier. That's a great way to do it. And then basically spend the rest of your time on other stuff. Whatever that split or ratio is for you is totally up to you. But, you might spend 30% on interviewing stuff. Or if you have some upcoming interviews, you might flip it and do 70% and 30% on building projects. GraphQL versus REST, great question. I talked about it in my most recent YouTube video, so go check it out. So back to the previous question, what's your best course of action? Don't quit the DSA. I would probably split my focus, make sure I have at least one good project I can show people, something deployed, so forth. What other questions we have? If I want to work in a FAANG company in 3 years, how would the path look like starting with this course? What should I do down the road? So this is a great question. Basically, I want to work at a FAANG company in 3 years. How do I do it? For full transparency, I've never worked at a FAANG company. I've always worked at smaller startups or done this content stuff. So not really something I can speak to from like my direct experience, but in the mentorship calls in the vault, we have FAANG instruction there. So you can learn all kinds of different stuff there. And effectively, you should be working a lot on interview material. So more DSA, system design, AI interviews, all of these things. Behavioral interviews are huge. Don't miss out on those. But the question I have is why 3 years? Is this because of school, or is this just like some arbitrary number? You're like, oh, I can do it in 3 years, but I can't do it in 2 or 1. Usually, whatever task you have, it fills the amount of time you give it. So, in my opinion, if you have nothing blocking you specifically, and you say, I'm going to do this in 3 years, that gives you too much time to delay action, because 3 years is so far in like this nebulous future. So you should basically be thinking, well, I know this isn't like, actually possible. How do I get that job today? That's going to basically up the pressure. And pressure is huge. You want pressure within reason, because basically if you're starting to get interviews, now you actually have stuff you have to study. There's stuff you have to learn to do these interviews. I can speak from experience that when I've had scheduled interviews, my rate of learning and my dedication to getting better is 10x. So by saying 3 years in the future, you're basically programming a path that gives you an out to actually applying yourself, because you have 3 years. So I don't know why you said 3 years, but if it's not for a very good reason, then it's probably you're kind of setting yourself up to failure for failure from the beginning. And you need to condense that. Maybe think 6 months or a year. What can you do for the next 3 months to get you as close to that goal as possible? Oh, this is a really off-topic question, but I want to address it. Michael says, I used to watch your old Chia videos. Hope you're doing good. Still farming with the giant desktop. I remember you had something crazy like 18 hard drives and 1 computer. Yeah, so for those of you guys who have been following my programming stuff, little hobby of mine, I built a computer with like 18 hard drives or something like that. I think it was like 400 terabytes. First project Chia, and I made a video about it, and it kind of popped off. So no, I'm not actively farming with that. I do have a lot of the equipment, like that same computer box is sitting over there for my gaming PC. Hello, Jefferson. So for those of you who are just joining in, the point of this call is, this live stream is answer any questions you guys have about the fundamentals course in the vault. The early access sale closes tonight, so pretty much as soon as I get off this live stream, whenever I get bored of answering questions, I'm going to go disable the sale. It comes with, I just want to mention, like, this is going to be a big priority of mine. There's two big things on my plate that I need to fulfill, which is finishing the fundamentals course. Most of the beginner material and the vault is all done, but I still got to do the intermediate and advanced material. And then continual work on my AI material. So that's something I'm doing more ongoing instead of like linear, like finish course release. The AI stuff I'm doing like slower over the rest of the year, just to make sure I can like produce good enough stuff there. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just need to like have time to build that material over time. So yeah, the early access for that is unfortunately closed, but I expect to reopen that at some point when the material is done. So after the fundamentals, just to give you guys kind of like my vision, the goal for me is to produce data structures and algorithm stuff. So the fundamentals will give you all the working knowledge for programming. You're not going to be, the best programmer on planet Earth, maybe like second or third best programmer on planet Earth, since I'm already number one. But it's going to give you a really solid foundation. So then you can learn from the DSA topics the most effectively. If you're going through the DSA stuff and you're like, oh, I have to go pick up like this topic and this topic and this topic, it distracts you from the topic, the challenge at hand, and it reduces your slowing. It reduces your rate of learning and your efficiency. And I did a lot of mock interviewing with people I was mentoring, and this is like the number one problem is like nobody had the fundamental data structure at the programming language level down. So like not being able to explain the difference between a dictionary and a default dictionary, or how to iterate through a dictionary, or how to initialize an empty set versus an empty dictionary, like basic programming stuff. These things were a constant problem where they couldn't solve the problem because they couldn't code the solution, not because they didn't understand the solution, but it was a distraction. So they couldn't, when they got to harder problems, they weren't able to solve them. They weren't able to raise their level of thinking to new challenges because they were stuck in the basics. Can I create an AI course? Well, funny you should ask. Yeah, I did. I'm working on one. So those are the two courses I have right now are the fundamentals and the AI course. And I'm going to basically go dark and build out the fundamentals material. And after that, I'm going to be releasing the DSA material. And the AI material will be kind of ongoing. Yeah. That's basically gives me an opportunity to get feedback from users, like, what kind of stuff they're working on. Do a LeetCode course. Yeah, so I've been thinking about potential bonuses for this next early access, right? So I want to do a DSA course. So imagine this is what I'm thinking, and always subject to change until it's live, but a 3-tier thing similar to the fundamentals where it's like beginner DSA, intermediate, and advanced. But instead of like those titles, it'll be like maybe like, just for example here, linked lists, arrays, and dictionaries or something for like tier 1. And then tier 2 like gets into some other sorting and searching and like other algorithms. And then tier 3 is like trees and graphs. And that to me makes sense, right? Because like you might want to get some fundamental data structure stuff, but you don't need to know like the depths of, solving advanced LeetCode problems. So I might structure it that way. And then as a potential early access bonus, having a course to basically just solve LeetCode problems. So it'll be like the perfect complement, right? Because here's my problem with just like solving LeetCode problems. You solve a LeetCode problem, you don't understand what you're doing, you just manage to figure out the solution. Not good. Or the other extreme where it's like, I just study data structures and algorithms, but I haven't actually like solved any problems. If I could solve both of these, then I think we're in like the perfect world. Basically, you get all of the fundamental data structures at computer science level stuff and like more applied examples showing how these algorithms scale with the increase of the input size. But then also have like a LeetCode 75 or Interview 100 course where I basically just walk through every single one of those problems and solve it. So you can just follow the course, and by the end, you'll have a complete collection of LeetCode problems solved. So I know some people do that on YouTube, and I think that's awesome. But I don't know if I really want to spam my channel with like, tens or hundreds of LeetCode problems. So might just have that as a course. Huck, why does everyone do beginner courses and never go in depth with the courses? Great question. I'm curious, what level of depth are you looking for? Because I do have like intermediate and advanced tiers. So that's kind of my idea with this, is like, this is a major gap in the market. There's so many beginner courses, like beginner programming in Python, blah, blah, blah. But there's not a lot of stuff that'll talk about intermediate level stuff. Like what's the core principles of understanding WebAssembly and like optimized computation within the browser. That's something like not a lot of course material exists. And I do know the reason why not a lot of people do it, by the way. It's because, think about it this way. More people exist at the beginner level. More opportunity for eyeballs and sales. Less people exist at the intermediate and advanced level, and the material is substantially harder to prepare. So it takes 4 times as long, and you have an audience size that's 1/4 the size. So if we're just talking business efficiency, it would make most financial sense for me to cover like the first 10% of like many topics, because the fall off rate is aggressive within software development. If I've done these like 100-part series. First one will have 1 million views. Second one, 500,000. Third one, 250. It's like division in binary. It's like halving every single video. And by 100, you have like no views. So that's why. PHP lessons on a chalkboard, good times. Still on the chalkboard. That's a classic thing. I don't think I'm gonna change. I'd switched to a whiteboard for a little while, and I was like, oh, this is something about this is not right. I went through my C++ course. Thank you. Hopefully it was awesome. Rhinux, sell me Python lessons. This course does use Python. It's not a Python course, but it covers beginner and intermediate Python. A couple hours of material. Probably like 5 or 6 hours of Python training. And it's tonight, by the way. How much will the whole roadmap cost, including so far? Will it be more than $1,000? Oh, we got a good couple questions here. I'll get to them. So again, I don't know what this final year product is going to be. I've thought about a couple different options. I was on the fence, like, do I want to offer a mentorship tier for people who want, live calls and stuff? But I'm not sure I want to do that. So I might just not. So I'm still up in the air. But the idea is like, I'm going to give you the full end-to-end. Most likely it's going to be pretty pricey, but I'll see if I can tier it properly for people to buy. Is DSA and system design in the Vault course? Yes. Short answer is yes. But that being said, it's not like a dedicated DSA and system design course. There are live calls that we've recorded. So we'll cover things like one of the other mentors there covered how he built notification systems at Meta. So this is super important for messaging and notifications at like massive scale. So that's like real world stuff that's super, super valuable. He also talked about, how he did like offline sync for his app. So those are some topics we'll cover. So it's more like, think of it as mentorship. Like it gives you some direction on what to learn and what to focus on and what to expect in the real world. but it's not like a course where you sit down and study a bunch of terms and stuff. When will you have the whole roadmap done by? Here's the problem, guys. This is the big problem. I keep adding and making it more complicated. I have no ability to keep it simple, stupid. It's like one of my core principles. Keep it simple, stupid. But I'm like, oh, let's do this fundamentals course. You know what would be absolutely sick with this fundamentals course? An intermediate and advanced tier of the fundamentals, because nobody talks about that kind of stuff. It's not enough demand. But like, clearly there is demand because I'm getting tons of people sign up. I think we're almost to 100 people. Anyways, then I'm like, well, there goes phone number 2. Well, I'm on Instagram too. They just slowly slide until they just collapse. Then I'm like, oh yeah, let's do a DSA course. But then I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be sick if I could also do like LeetCode 100 and just go through 100 LeetCode problems, or 75 or however many, even like 50 would be awesome. So then I'm like, do I want to add that in too? My concern is like I'm going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that like the surface area of material is so dense that it's hard to go through. So I'm going to be cautious of that. That's why the tentative roadmap, like the goal is to wrap it up the end of the year and do like a 2026 software engineering course that's not exactly one-to-one as these courses, but I'm not really like focusing on that yet until I get a better idea. But I have that roadmap on my homepage of my website. So right now I'm on the fundamentals. Then I have the AI course, which is not on that formal roadmap. And then next up we'll have data structures and algorithms and system design. And then it's pretty much back end and front end, and then we're good to go. How bad or good is your sleep schedule? Oh, wow. This is a great question. I've had periods in my life where my schedule and my routine was perfect. Like there was probably close to a year where I got up at 5:30 a.m. every single day, like on the dot, didn't miss. Very, very rarely would I miss. And that was when I was working and I had to get some YouTube content recorded, some course content recorded for Course Careers. So I got up at 5:30, I recorded for 2-3 hours, then I started work. I did that for months. I've since shifted to doing my business full time. So now, as soon as that happened, my my enforced routines have been a little bit more relaxed, and now my current sleep schedule is absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible. So it is something I am working on. I'm actually not working on it. I'm lying, because the actions I'm taking say that I'm not working on it. So like last night, I went to bed. It was like 1 o'clock. I was like, you know what? I would rather go finish this YouTube video and get this course out to people than sleep. So I was like, I'm gonna get up and get that video up. And then I just ended up staying up till like 9 a.m. So I just pulled an all-nighter, and then I was basically useless at that point. So I just went right to bed. I didn't actually stopped recording just like mid-sentence. I was just like, yeah, I can't do it anymore. So I need to finish up where I left off. But I usually don't do it that extreme. But yeah, my sleep schedule has been very, very sporadic. Not saying I would recommend that, but that's just where I'm at. That's the level I'm looking for. Most of what I can find is just beginner, but then can't find where to go from there. Yep, exactly. That's the gap I'm trying to fill. What do you mean the 2026 software engineering course? That's not one of them. Oh yeah, so just to clarify, the roadmap, the goal is to basically build, if you go through this series of courses, you're like a senior level engineer. You have all the mentorship and career stuff. You have all the fundamental skills. You have all the data structures and algorithms. You have all the system design. And then you have the applied back-end and front-end engineering. You could be a full stack developer, or you could do pretty much anything. And I want people to be like extremely thoroughly skilled in those things. So the idea is basically we could bundle those and build like a single course. But I don't know if I just want to just bundle it, because then it's like it's not that exciting. So maybe I'll add something like a more like software engineering, project development, or a like real world SaaS development course or something. Like I haven't really figured it out, but something to like wrap up all of those ideas into like a single outcome. How can I get better at soft skills for interviewing? Can you make a course for that? Yeah, so that's basically a lot of what we talk about in the Code Breakthrough Vault. So that's with the early access sale if you join tonight. But yeah, to answer your question, mock interviewing. Go to a mock interviewing site. Peer-to-peer should be free, just so you know. You'll interview someone, they'll interview you. Do that 5 times. You're already going to feel 1,000 times better. The first one's going to be super awkward and uncomfortable. So you can basically have that failed experience there instead of with a real interview. And then the second way is just to get practice. So go get some interviews. Should we be worried of AI taking your jobs? It depends on what you do. I do believe AI has some capabilities to automate and replace some jobs, but like I just don't think it's where it needs to be honest. I'm an iOS developer, now I decided to learn Go. Is that a good decision? I think just learning is great. I think Go is great. I don't know what you're trying to do with Go. That's the thing. But I would say, yeah, learning something outside of the Swift environment is probably smart. And Go would be good. Personally, I've used some Go, but like never professionally. I used Rust professionally, but I did teach Go for O'Reilly. Do you cover testing, quality assurance, and deployments? It's a great question. I did get a question from someone else about CI and CI/CD, which is something I love. But I think I'm not going to cover that in the intermediate or advanced topics. Focus more in on programming, less on deployments and more DevOps stuff. I'll probably put that more in like the back end course, which will come on later this year. So you taught me SQL like 10 years ago, brother. That's awesome. I forgot most of that stuff, so maybe you can teach it back to me. Just kidding. I know it. Any sectors that we need to focus which can't be replaced by AI? Yeah, I think basically just getting better is good. Starting to utilize AI. So check out Claude Code, check out GitHub Copilot, Agent Mode. Those things, get practice. You'll start to realize where AI is missing things. Like it can't think of like really big pictures and solve business problems. So just to clarify, is the 2026 course something that wraps up the roadmap, or is like the whole roadmap condensed? Yeah, I don't exactly know. That's why I'm trying to answer your question, so I don't have the official answer. Basically, my goal is to give probably like almost like a boot camp style thing at the end of the year. So we'll see what that looks like. Just getting better hits hard. Yeah, it's true. Like really, the more specialized skill, the more business knowledge, the more application you can have in this realm, like the better off you're going to be. Plus, there's massive value in people who can utilize these AI tools. Massive value. Say I'm a company, what do I want to do? I want to integrate AI. So if I want to integrate AI, I need software engineers who know how to do that. That's where the value is. I don't need somebody to make CRUD apps. While that's valuable, I need somebody who can summarize the text on the page or whatever. Like, learn how to utilize these AI tools. There's this guy named Tiago. I guess he did something like what you mentioned, combine all backend knowledge into 2 courses, taking you from zero to deploying a microservice app, 1 outcome. Yeah, I've done. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's like really a good end goal. Like have something deployed that you can show people. That's pretty much what I did with the backend Python course I released a couple years ago. By the end of it, you have a very simple app, but it's deployed to AWS, uses RDS, has a custom domain, uses security certificates, a lot of stuff most courses just like ignore, and then you have no idea how to do any of that stuff. So I think definitely needs more of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think because we are at an hour, so it's probably a good time for me to start wrapping up. If there's any final questions, you can throw them at me now. Since I'm still live, if anybody wants to jump in last minute to the course after this live, I'm gonna close it. So then basically the vault will be sealed up until some other early access opportunity, either the DSA course coming at some point, or some course after that, depending on what I do for that. So, how do we impress recruiters with coding projects in the world of all these AI tools? Yeah, I think if you can build an app that either uses like some LLM's API to do something, or build an app that has MCP. So you can look how to build MCP servers and make your app consumable by LLMs. You can also focus on basically LLM SEO, how to make your app most successful with like this new realm of search engine alternatives, LLMs. How do you balance health and work? I think you are overestimating my my health. I definitely I do prioritize health, but I've always been kind of like what I would say average in that realm. Like I'm not super committed and focused, and I'm like relatively stagnant in my day to day. But that is something I want to improve on myself. How to do advanced CRUD operations. That's some of the stuff we'll talk about in this course. I also have like a fast API course coming out. So that's free on YouTube, so stay tuned for that. Oh, a couple interesting changes I made. I'm making it so all my YouTube notes are basically open source, so you can access them. You can go to my most recent video. I have the notes, and I've done that before, but now it's basically all the videos in a database on Notion. You can access all the markdown, code references, all that stuff. It's gonna be sick. Makes consuming the material way better, makes it easier to remember stuff. Highly recommend it. So you can check that out, and you can also get like previews of my upcoming lessons, what I'm looking to cover. So right now you can get my fast API notes. They're work in progress, but like they're there. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody. At this point, I'm going to go in and close the sale. And then for those of you who did buy, make sure you join the Discord. I updated that. So basically, we have weekly accountability now, which is huge. Basically, an opportunity for you to share your progress, make sure you're progressing like you need. We also have a forum for you to ask any questions or show any issues. From India, I love your videos, specifically your DBMS videos. Cleared all my doubts, and I'm able to clear 4 offer letters. Wow, that's absolutely insane. Congratulations on that. That's like huge. Really proud of you for that. That's the stuff I love to hear and see. So thanks for sharing. If one can't afford the courses, how can we get the same knowledge from your free videos? Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because it's like here's my approach. Because like I love free stuff, right? Who doesn't love free stuff? But I also love paid stuff. And I will pay for something if the benefit to me is worth it. and the how that relates to YouTube and course content, you're paying for my curation and efforts prepping the content. I'm doing the research for you. I'm basically transferring 200 hours to you into 20 hours or 10 hours or like whatever it is. You're saving time. And in software engineering, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because many of you might be making 60K, 100K, 200K, like whatever. To jump around on the internet and, learn a bunch of random garbage over, many days and weeks, who has time for that? Or you can just take a course, pay a few $100. If it saves you freaking an hour or two, it's probably worth it. So that's like why people like courses. It's not so much that the material on YouTube is not as good or is, not recommended. I put a ton of effort into the YouTube videos. I mean, a ton. Some of the videos, like they'll end up being an hour. It takes me like a week to make. It's the return on time, and you don't have to jump around to find what you're looking for. I basically give you the exact stuff to learn, give you the projects, and step by step help you build them. So if you're wanting to do the same, you don't need to pay for it. You can just go through stuff on YouTube, but it just takes a little bit of extra time. I'm probably not doing a great job selling this course, but I think for most people to get 20, 30 hours of prepped material at, $10 an hour, it's well worth most people's time, especially within the US. So for people in some other countries, I know it doesn't convert, and that's why I post stuff for free up on YouTube as well. So if you're wondering where to start, pick a programming language. I usually have videos on those or find somebody who does. And then check out my system design playlist and my new software engineering playlist. So my most recent API design and architecture video, I'm going to be producing in that playlist. Playlists are kind of like the equivalent, so. All right. I am going to be closing this sound off. If anyone has any last minute questions, you can ask now, since I'm just chilling at this point. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it. I have massive ambition and goals for this. Last year, I quit my job to do mentoring, software engineering role. I loved it too because I was building in Rust, which is something I wanted to do, building new applications. Refund policy. I think it's like 7 days. So if you buy it and you're like, yeah, this isn't what I want, then just send me an email. Anyways, I left my role to do mentoring. Did that for a year, learned lots. Pausing that for now, going all in with content, courses, back to what got me started in the first place and going back to my roots. And that's like super exciting for me. Dude, I just want to let you know you're the one who made me enjoy coding. Let's go. Love to hear that. Yeah, I think that's so good. Like, if you can like trick your mind into enjoying it, it's like, especially if you don't even have to trick your mind. Like, sometimes just sitting down with the laptop and just like chilling, and I'm gonna build this thing, and like, I would say, just vibing, but now that's like closely associated with vibe coding, so I'm not probably gonna say that, but yeah, totally love that. And if you're not enjoying it, maybe try build something. For those of you who aren't enjoying it, maybe try build something that you do look forward to building. I do have Why Not Elixir? I do have some material on Elixir. So 2 big videos. I have an Elixir video and then a Phoenix video. So great starting point. What do you think about the market for junior developers? It's hard to land a job for juniors. All right, controversial take. Best way to get a job as a junior developer is to just not be a junior developer. Just get better. I know it's harder in practice, but build something difficult. Build projects that make you a good developer. Start asking what makes a senior engineer a senior engineer. Oh, you guys keep distracting me. Give me a second. right, there we go. The sale is officially closed. So what's next for me? I'm gonna lock myself in a room. I'm going to plan my face off, record till my throat explodes, produce the intermediate and advanced sections, build some sick projects. Everybody who bought this course is like the reason I don't want to get too off topic here. Let me just bring it back. Everybody who bought this course is going to be radically thankful they did, because my job is to price it where you're like, dang, this is worth it. And then I want to over deliver. So that's my goal. Then we're going to move on to DSA. Unless I get distracted between there and now and then. So hopefully, timeline, I'm not promising. Because if I'm promising, yeah, like probably more like 2 to 4 months. But my goal, like what I want to achieve if I don't get sick or anything, it's like I want to build out these 2 courses in like the next month so I can move on to the DSA topic next month. Like end of next month, I would love to do this again for DSA. And I already have, it's not live in the course, but I already have a lot of notes and topics that I want to cover. So you might be looking at the ebook and like it's empty, and then like boom, next day there's like sections. So I don't think it's going to take me as much time as it might seem, because I've already prepped so much material. So I'm hopefully going to work through it pretty quickly. I'm trying to work on my long form computer science content. Any advice? At this point, there's nothing. I'd say find a great fundamentals course, but it's closed. I'm so sorry. No, I'm just playing. A great starting point would just be to go through some of my computer science topic videos here on YouTube. Data structures and algorithms playlist will give you some good computer science stuff. Maybe like the Java playlist or whatever if you're using a certain programming language. All right, everybody. I appreciate your time. If you have any comments, questions, just shoot me an email, message. If you're in the course, join the community, and post the first week introducing yourself, and then the first week accountability. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you never again, because I'm taking all your money and I'm running away. All right, bye-bye. How do I stop